Finding the perfect resort for your clients can be frustrating and take hours of research. TA Toolkit solves that problem for you. We have over 700 items your clients request, plus you can search multiple destinations at once. You'll have a list of resorts that match your clients' needs in less than 10 minutes. Sign up today with the promo code WAVEPREP2024 for a 14-day free trial. TA Toolkit, it's about time.
Running a travel business can be overwhelming, but imagine if there was a single tool that helped you look professional, stay organized, was easy to use, and affordable. That's just what Travefy does. Travefy gives you the essential tools you need to look like a travel biz pro. Travefy is the most trusted system used by over 30,000 travel brands worldwide. So get started with a system that helps you get back to the joy of planning travel and run your travel business like a pro with Travefy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Prep for Wave Week. Today is sales day, so we're having a lot of different conversations today on better selling techniques and how you can increase your sales as well. And I don't think we really talk about, at least not on a previous Prep for Wave Week, have we really talked about the nitty gritty about fees. And we really want to make sure that this is not like the typical fees conversation. We want you to really start thinking out of the box and like more practically about charging fees, because everybody that has a business typically charges some sort of fee along the way. So we're going to break that down a little bit with my friend Jackie Williams, who is a fellow travel advisor. She also does some coaching and consulting within the industry, and she has been charging fees for a few years now and has been steadily increasing her rates and has no problem charging fees. So I feel like she was just going to be a great subject matter expert. So without further ado, welcome Jackie to Prep for Wave Week.
Thank you, Rita. And hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here to talk about my favorite topic of money.
Okay, so let's dive in like real quick then. Why is money your favorite topic?
I think it's just growing up. I didn't grow up in a very wealthy household, but I definitely knew that. And actually, I take that back. I didn't want money to matter. I don't know if any of you are out there who just, I don't want money to matter. I just want to be happy. And I had that kind of ideology about things until money started to matter a lot.
Right. I feel like money matters for everything.
I know. And I had to realize where I was living and what really, how this America worked at least. And so I actually got really involved with personal finance when I cleared over $80,000 in debt in 3 years. Through my own kind of profit first methodology before I even knew about that book, actually before the book was even written.
Okay.
And so that led me, you probably don't know any of this, right?
No, I was like, wait a second, like that's a whole other, but I feel like it's super helpful to the conversation.
Right. And so then I actually was in a personal finance group where I was the only woman in that group of men. And they will always love it because they're like, you're just so different from our wives. And no disrespect to any of the women who may not be all about money, but that's just sort of like, so I've always been more about personal finance. So when I got into business, and this particular business, coming from IT, corporate IT, project management, managing over $20 million in budgets for different various industries, I was just like, so you mean to tell me we only get paid after the trip is taken, if the trip is taken, however, I'm still working?
Right.
And I was like, that doesn't make any sense because no one else does that. And I know people will say realtors do that. Because that's sort of when I got into the business over 10 years ago, we would compare ourselves to realtors. However, their sales process isn't typically that long. And they're pre-qualifying their clients. Preferably, they want them to have a loan pre-qualification. So, and 100,000 plus
I
million
was
dollar
gonna say
homes.
multi-six-figure investment there.
Right. So their 3 to 6.5, 7% is very lucrative. That can allow them to eat a lot longer than
Mhm.
our 10 to 18% on very smaller trips, typically, depending on your
Right.
market. So that is how I got started to realize, and coming from a consulting background, that something was wrong and we should figure out what's going on. And so I actually found what Nolan Burris,
Mhm.
and this was through Googling. Didn't know about him. Actually never took any of his courses before, but he was the only one making sense. Not even an endorsement, because I really don't know him that well, but he
Uh-huh.
literally was the only person making sense.
Uh-huh.
And he actually had on a particular, I don't know if it was a podcast back then, it was just an audio player, audio of him speaking about how pre years back they used to charge fees before decommission of airline commissions
Mhm.
and the OTA. So yeah, I actually became more consistent in 2019.
Okay.
Um, I've done several business models, franchise owner, hosted, hybrid, hosted, independent, and now I'm an independent agency owner.
Mhm.
So I've done all of them, and in all scenarios, fees are required. So it doesn't matter what your business structure is.
Yeah, I was going to say I had a podcast episode earlier this year. I forget like what the number is, but I know it says host agency red flags. And so if your host agency does not let you charge fees, that's a red flag in my book. So you can tune into that. I'll try and link it up below. But that's one of the red flags that I wanted to mention. And I think it's like good that you mentioned like in the different fee models, whether you're independent, whether you're hosted, whether you're franchised, you're still running a business at all of those levels. So you get to decide what the rules are regardless because you're not an employee.
And absolutely. And that's really where it comes down to. And if there are any agency owners listening to this and or ICs listening to this, you know, at least for myself speaking to agency owners, like, well, how can I do this? Well, for my ICs, they charge their fees, they set their price. That's nothing to do with me.
Mhm.
That's their service. And that's how I choose to look at that. And I
Mhm.
know, but they also operate under their own brand,
Mhm.
so that's how my model is set up. I also have friends where there are advisors that work under their brand,
Okay.
right? And what the agency has is a starting at fee tier, and they will let leads know that, hey, an advisor can be from here to here. And so that just allows the lead to know that comes into the agency to know that, okay, I don't know who I'm working with right now, but this can be their tier. So I am an advocate that in a business, we should operate as a business, and we are a
Right.
service based business. And I'm not sure of any service based business owners that don't charge for their services, their time and giving the service, right?
Right. Yeah, because I did a podcast episode and that was 166 recently about the practical considerations that you should have for charging fees. And in there, I had discussed also like not only real estate, because they're doing multi six-figure transactions where we might be doing multi four or five-figure transactions. So it's totally different. But I know a lot of people will relate financial advisors to travel advisors because we're giving all sorts of advice. But the difference between financial advisors is you sell one thing and you make some portion of commission every year for the life that that thing is out there. So whether that's like a life insurance plan or stock or whatever it is, because there's so many things on that level. So it's also very different because if we're looking at strictly as a service provider, then I think about the electrician that fixes the light, the plumber that fixes the toilet. They don't even come to your house for less than $100 an hour. And they will charge you that $100 regardless if they were there for an hour or 5 minutes.
Yep. And, I actually like using interior designers.
Mm-hmm.
And that came out of nowhere. And I was like, why did I think of them? Mainly because, they will come and you're literally paying for their ideas,
Mm-hmm.
their creativity, which is much similar to us in designing trips.
Yeah.
It's based off either our prior experience, our collaboration with a DMC or a tour operator, etc. But it's all of our creativity and our advice and our judgment. But then with the interior designer, you still actually have to go spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on furniture.
Mm-hmm.
So your house isn't even furnished after you pay them to come in. And some of them charge per room, not just per the entire house.
Okay.
So yeah, girl, you got to get in those details with that. So I was just like, yeah. So, and that's a good qualifier.
Mm-hmm.
Those of us, and I say us because I do pay for services myself. And maybe that is another reason why I
Right.
value someone paying me. But house cleaners, if you do any of those meal prep services, subscription services, anyone who actually values saving time
Mm-hmm.
and trusting someone else's expert opinion, I think those are good clients to look out for, as far as them valuing you.
Yeah, because I feel like at a certain threshold with a certain type of client, saving money isn't necessarily the thing. It's I need to work with somebody who knows the region because I don't have the time to figure this out. Or I have tried figuring this out and it's obviously not working with me. So it's even starting to think, like, change your mindset or the way that you see the world in a way of the people that I need to be working with would never question me charging a fee, would never question even working with me. That's another rant that I've been recently doing is like, why are travel advisors still having to say, these are the reasons you should work with a travel advisor? Because a dentist doesn't say that. Your
Right.
chiropractor doesn't say that. Like it's the difference between showing and telling to me. I know I went like on a different on a different rampage there. But I'm just so passionate about like we talked about being broke in this business and there's so many people who are broke or who don't think about being and owning a travel agency in terms of like income is reliant on them because they have other forms of revenue, whether that's through a spouse or a retirement plan. There's so many different facets to this conversation because it's not even about the fees, it's about taking that ownership into your CEO role.
And you hit it on the nail because I actually was at the ASTA Travel Advisor Conference in May and
Mm-hmm.
had some very interesting conversations because once I would share that I charge fees, it were like, really, really, I don't. And I'm asking, well, why? And then I learned that at least the individuals that I spoke to were retired. So
Mm-hmm.
they had retirement income coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So for them, this was sort of like that retirement career. And, or and I use the word career very strategically because a career is typically what you would hear an employee reference that they have.
Mm-hmm.
As an entrepreneur would say, I own a business,
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually asked them, I said, well, would you be open to not tell people you actually own a business and that you are literally providing travel planning as a hobby? Because ultimately, only nonprofit organizations, go into business for the purpose of serving for the goodness of their heart
Right.
because they truly want to help the community. The purpose of a business is to make revenue and earn profit.
Right.
That's the respected and commercial definition for a business. And so there is different types of business, and nonprofit is one of those, but for-profit businesses are always looking to earn revenue or profit, or they go out of business.
Right.
And so one of the things, and I was going to go on my own tangent. I was like, I had to like remember what our conversation was. Is for, as a business owner, at least for me, a major qualifier is someone who's a decision maker, a decisive decision maker. And that doesn't look like someone who has to ask permission. Can I XXX?
Mm-hmm.
So we shouldn't be asking people, well, can I charge fees? Well, as a business owner, you have to make a decision and know that it's your decision to make that, and know that you have every right to charge fees. And if you need to get seller of travel licenses in Florida, Georgia, Florida, California, Washington, wherever, Hawaii, then do what you need to do as a business owner
Right.
to be compliant in your state.
Right.
But it's not okay, in my perspective, to not know the business and the industry you're in, nor what you're able to do in that business, because now you're going back into employee mindset, and that's really not serving you or our overall industry any better, and especially giving our consumers consistent perception of our industry.
Exactly.
Because I never been to no
Exactly.
attorney and didn't think that they had to get paid ever.
Yeah. 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 Because I happened to an attorney that I didn't have to pay initial fees, but they did take their third after the settlement was taken. And then they also only take on clients that they know they can win. Again, totally different industry from what we do, but there is also a signature that has to happen that you're kind of like saying that you agreed to hire this person.
Yeah.
And they're going to work on your behalf. And I'm sure if you decide to not fulfill that agreement, you're probably going to be held liable for some dollar bills. But a couple of things from what you said, completely on that leadership versus employee mindset. One of the stories that I frequently bring up was when I was working in the theme parks. I'll never forget, like, one of my leadership when I was at one of the theme parks had said the difference between a leader and an employee is that a leader is able to make a decision and feel comfortable in that decision. And if you don't know what the decision is, you go find out the information so that you can make the decision. That's the difference between a leadership mindset and owning that you are the manager, the supervisor, the director, the CEO of whatever organization it is that you're running. So being comfortable making those decisions. And then it's interesting that you say about career and employee mindset, because earlier this year, I had one of my friends come up to me looking for information, wanting to pick my brain about some travel stuff. And I had told her, I'm like, well, there's a couple different ways. You can hire me on to be your travel advisor. I plan all the details, or we can do a consult. This is how much an hour of my time works. And she was like, oh, wow, I didn't realize you had gone so far in your career or were so like dedicated in your career. And I feel like putting that down and like being confident in what I was saying, put the line like, this is not a hobby. I'm not
Yes.
just doing this to help you out. Like, this is how I make money in my
Yes.
life.
Yes. We have to, in your life, girl, come on, we're going with this already. Because you just triggered me, because we have to pay our bills.
Right.
Okay. I left a 6-figure IT career, a comfortable, easy, for me, that's very easy money, okay, to do one of the hardest businesses ever, which is sales, and motivating people and trying to inspire them to live their life in the best way possible through travel.
Mm-hmm.
This is not one of the easiest things I ever had to do. But with that, because I was also like 1099 in corporate, right? So that required me to make sure that my hourly rate included my value, but also my vacation days, my holidays,
Yes.
my insurance,
Yep.
and taxes. And just when I didn't feel like it, just
Right.
my own personal extra PTO, because why not, right?
Yep.
So when I would say what I wanted to make in a year, I would never divide that by 52 weeks. nor would I divide it by 50 weeks to give the average 2,000 working hours. I will always use like 46 weeks or 45 weeks because I got fam and other experiences that I would want to do, right?
Yeah.
So if you're needing to travel, because mind you, when we're going on these educational experiences, that is time away from the office, typically when we're not able to fully service our clients. So we're not making sales, we're not bringing in revenue. Hence, making sales for me is not booking a trip, that's someone hiring me and paying my fee.
Mm-hmm.
So I look at sales a lot different than most people. That has nothing to do with the reservation book. Did you hire me? If they didn't hire me, I'm not quoting anyway, so I didn't make any money.
Right.
Because I get that money
100%.
right then and there.
Mm-hmm.
And so now if I wanted to say, well, I need money this month. Well, I need to know how many consults I need to have to actually close a sale so I can pay some bills.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a different mindset. So all of the right now we're just really speaking about the mindset that you need to get yourself into and really own being a business owner. And you said it so perfectly, Rita. And I think it's not just for the ICs, but for any agency owner who hasn't yet adopted this perspective or who's under the table treating your ICs like employees. It's not really serving them nor you or our industry. And I'm being very bold to make these statements right now. There's different ways that we can structure our business model. And if we need to have like a think tank with these agency owners to say, okay, well, what kind of models are out there so that everybody can eat comfortably and do what they need to do? Well, let's get that on the conversation because we really do need to drive some type of consistency in how we're giving the perception to the consumer. And that when you come to a travel advisor, that has a cost associated with it. I had a cousin who was a lower income, but still traveling. So everybody said, well, people don't have money. Okay, I'm not going to give all my people business away like that. But let's just say she paid a fee. And at that time, I started at $150 per person. So it's $300 for the room. It was 2 adults in the room. And so she asked why. She said, cause why are you charging? And I said, well, that's a good question. I said, because, I didn't go into all of the things I do for them. That's my family. So I got straight to the point. I said, because you know what, cousin, I won't eat until you come eat me and get paid. Until you come home from your trip, which for them was going to be 10 months from then. And she said, oh my goodness, well, why are you doing this job? I never forget it. And I was like, that's a good point. Why am I doing this job? If that's how it works. And so, and then she said, wow. I said, what do you think? She said, well, I used to sell insurance and I never sold insurance. And if someone who has, this is not on the same path, this is just her story. She said that after a policy or premium was paid, that the company then paid her like almost immediately or within that same time frame. So the people, and she was like, and if they canceled, then she would have to, I guess, give it back or something. But so she was kind of thinking that our business was very similar. But once she learned that I wasn't going to get paid for effort, work, support, answering questions, processing payments, just giving them confidence, all of the things that we do, until maybe 10, 11 months later, she was like, well, let us know if we need to pay you more because you're doing a lot. And I was like, I would do that next time, that was a group. So anyway, people will understand because they don't go to work for free. So you shouldn't go to work for free either.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because the right people will be like, are you sure that's all that I have to pay you for? Like, I feel like I should pay more because I've been in that situation. I know somebody else who has been on the reverse, that they paid a service provider. The service provider did all this extra work and they're like, I need to pay you more money. And the service provider was like, no, it's okay. It's okay. But like thinking tactically too, when we think about, because I had a lot of stuff done in my house because I had to deal with the catastrophe that is sewer backup within your townhome. This was
Mhm.
a couple years ago. So I actually 5 years ago. Yay. We're 5 years free. But like I'll never forget, like on the if you look at the invoices, it will have like the labor, kind of like when you go to your car mechanic, the labor and the materials is separate. But that labor, even when I'm looking at like $100 an hour, 100 plus, however it is, the person that's doing the work is probably being paid $30 to $50 an hour, depending on skills, certifications, and whatnot. And then that other $100 is going to taxes, it's going to health insurance, it's going to probably cover that person's vacation time at whatever. If there's the truck, the gas, the mileage, all these other different things. So it's not that you're paying just for that person to come in here. There's operating expenses that we should all, we all have
Yes.
them, no matter what business we're in.
No, you're right. And also we're not just planning it's and we go back into some tactical things. I don't call it a service fee.
Mm-hmm.
I don't call it a planning fee. I call it a management fee.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, I come from project management. And so we are legit managing projects. A trip is equivalent to a project from end to end.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes, planning, requirements gathering. Sorry, my tech brain is kicking in. We're actually designing, we're now implementing, we're actually, executing it with payment, we're
Mm-hmm.
managing, monitoring, making sure that things aren't changing, flights change, we want to update, do our CRM things. All of those things are in the monitoring and management. Then the people are traveling. Most of us and see, mind you, if you're not doing these things, then yeah, these may be things that you want to consider adding to your workflow to add value,
Right.
right? So you should this isn't about charging. First of all, every business owner should charge. However, just as we expect someone who has a fee for service to actually deliver and add value to us, we should do the same.
Right.
So it should be in alignment with the value that you're giving them, the
Mm-hmm.
time that you're saving, the pain points and the problems that you're solving for them, the consideration into their unique experiences and preferences that they want should all be aligned here.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, go back. So we so we're actually managing a trip from end to end.
Right.
So people say, I'm just doing my planning piece. I say, so what happens after you plan it? It's over. It's done. Planning's
Boom.
done. So
I
it
did it.
could, yeah, it could be the way that you're communicating the actual service that is actually what's diminishing it. So in my opinion, can can our consumers and our clients plan their own vacations? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they can. However, anything that someone can do themselves and or that technology can also do, that means that I now become a concierge service and a very luxury discretionary service.
Mm-hmm.
So I do believe whether we're selling from what many of us consider low tier carnival all the way up to, private jet, experiences, that we are a luxury service provider because we are now doing something for others that they ultimately can do for themselves. And everyone say, well, no, they won't work with my DMC. Is that what we think? Let somebody tell this DMC that they're going to that they're going to give them some money to plan an amazing experience, and no travel
Yeah.
advisor has come to their rescue to plan this for them.
Yeah.
That's what we think. So I don't know. Somebody had to prove me wrong on that one, but yeah.
You had said, and like really diving in deep in people implementing fees, not only implementing, but thinking about like really stepping it up a level in their business. You had mentioned about accounting for fees. So how necessarily do you do that within your business? Like how do you account for fees in your revenue? And like when you're forecasting or when you're recording things or when you're like, okay, my income level has to be X amount. This is how I'm going to get there.
And that's what I did for myself. For one, I was already giving concierge white glove service,
Mm-hmm.
even when I didn't know I was. So once I identified that that's who I am consistently across the board,
Mm-hmm.
that already let me know that I was moving into that luxury market. That was more of my primary clientele. However, if anyone who was not considered luxury in price point or who wanted all of those services, if they still wanted to work with me, they still had to pay for it because that's what they're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
But also coming and knowing what I was giving up when I retired from IT, what my monthly was. And that's a very, lucrative number for my household.
Mm-hmm.
And so looking at all of my expenses, looking at what I want my expenses to be. So if I know that for me, selling luxury, I don't need to do first or business class all of the time, but I know that there are times or airlines where I may need to have that experience because I need to be able to tell my clients what that experience like.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm forecasting from that perspective the types of educational fans that I want to go on
Mm-hmm.
and approximately the amount that that could be. So I'm also kind of building up my reserve and what I need to have available for expenses to come, right?
Okay.
I know my tech stack as far as well, my CRMs and emails and all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a staff. And so I also know her value. If I want to bring on someone else,
Mm-hmm.
I know when I may want them to have an increase. So I'm also budgeting and considering that number in.
Mm-hmm.
So having that overall number and then breaking that down to also there's still a flat number that is typically needed to cover expenses in my business, which is my pay, her pay, taxes, expenses. That helps me know and that helped me set. Because if I was thinking, well, I want that to be, I'm going to charge 250.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't have a calculator in front of me, but I just knew for me, I wasn't going to be serving 30 new
Oh,
clients
yeah.
every month.
Mm-hmm.
No, but let's just say I need that number to be 3,000. And I know that my fee is either 750 or 1,500. Well, that's between 2 to 4 clients that I may need to bring in, right?
Okay.
To help me. And that means new increase, closing sales. And mind you, I have a starting act
Mm-hmm.
and I have that listed on my website because for me, I don't hire many people when I don't already have an idea of what their
Exactly.
cost is.
Right. Same.
I don't like calling people and I work in all kind of hours. So it's just a friction point for me to always have to, so what is your cost? What is your pricing? And it feels like they're hiding something. So for me,
Right.
I like
It's
to do a
it's
starting at.
it's only helping not only you as the business owner, but as the consumer, because somebody can immediately check or not check the box.
Yep.
And like when we're thinking about, we don't want to be working with people who are going to be wasting our time. If you say the minimum spend per trip is 5,000, 10,000, they're going to immediately know, oh, nope, I'm not ready to work with so and so yet.
They're not ready to work with you, or they need to come up with the money to work with
Mm-hmm.
you. So
Incentivized.
now they know what the expectations are.
Yeah.
But then I actually had a client that came and I asked her, so what made you choose me? She said, because you had a scheduler on your website. She's a project manager. She said you
Mm.
made it so easy
Make
to
it
actually
easy.
schedule an appointment with you. We didn't have to go back and forth about, when are we going to meet? You had the questionnaire there. And mine is a little lengthy, but she actually appreciated the detail because she said, I actually had her think. Others have given me the same feedback. They're like, girl, that thing was so long, but we love the fact that you gave us some things to think about.
Mm-hmm.
So the right client is going to finish it. The right
Right.
client is going to schedule the appointment and the right client is going to pay the fee. So I rarely ever have to explain. Like people always ask me, so what do you tell them that you do? Well, they know they're hiring me to plan an experience to manage that to the end. And what I would say, typically, so I don't go through that anymore. So I'm trying to figure out how I started. First of all,
Mhm.
when I started, I was talking too much. And I'm doing this, and I'm going to do this for you, and I'm going to do this for you. And then I'm watching them on Zoom, or sometimes you can
They're
kind
like,
of hear them. And then I don't talk them. I either over talk, and now they're starting to lose a little confidence. Like, why is she overselling me? Right. But really now I say, this is my fee. It starts at 750. Really, I don't even tell them what my fee is because I don't really know when I'm going to send them over
mhm,
until I actually work things over. But I say,
mhm,
you're going to, after this call, you're going to get an email follow up of our conversation. It's going to have my invoice included there. Mind you, they already know I start at 750.
mhm.
So they at a minimum know I start at 750 at a minimum. And but my average now is about 1,500. And it's gone up to about 5,000. And I've also sold 15,000 yearly retainer policy.
Ooh,
Not
cool.
policy, but yeah, a
Just
yearly
a retainer
membership.
client, pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
Yeah.
retainer client.
Yeah.
So
Um, I want to kind of touch on a little bit about value because I feel like that's the other question, especially when a lot of people start with fees, it's usually like $100, $200. So I know when you say 750, I've heard some other travel advisors say something similar that that's what their fee is now. I've heard also the $5,000 that it actually should be $10,000, and they're like planning large scale events on top of all the travel logistics. So when I feel like the conversation should not be how much you charge, rather, what is the value of a $750 service management, whatever we're calling, like what is included, or how can you make that $750 valuable to your client?
So now this comes into the differentiator. Part of the reason I'm gonna go back just a little bit, why I think people are afraid to list their starting at or any flat fee on their website is because they think now that, oh, Jackie's gonna come to my site and see what I charge, and then she's gonna try to out. So it's this competitive nature.
Mm-hmm.
But if I go out to eat, I know how much McDonald's gonna cost for something, or Burger King is gonna cost. I mean,
Right.
ultimately, it's it's the quality,
Mm-hmm.
and we are our own differentiators. So
Mm-hmm.
no one can ever be me, and I can't be you. So I think that's what we should first say. But when it comes to value, all that still plays a part.
Mm-hmm.
So when I now do consultations, it's always through video, and I don't deviate from my process.
Okay.
If I do, I already know you. We've already worked together. We may be already in person. So it's still face to face in some capacity. But I always say it's starting now. I always say it's starting now. This is
Mm-hmm.
part of it. And one of the things that, I see from people say, I have a 15-minute getting to know you call. Well, I don't know how many people we talk more than 15 minutes just before we start this podcast.
Yeah, we did.
So I don't know how you can really get anything done in 15
Mm-hmm.
minutes. So I say give yourself and allow yourself time to get to know and build a relationship. And once you start to look at this as a relationship building business and industry and conversation that you're having, then
Mm-hmm.
the value starts to come. You're showing that you care about them. You're showing that you care about their preferences. You give yourself time,
Right.
right? To actually do all of the things. And then we are creating experiences for other people,
Mm-hmm.
so we create we should, in my opinion, we should create a very flexible model for flexible situations that allows people to have the trip that they need. I think once, and you have to just know the pain points of your particular consumer, your particular
Right.
ideal client, your avatar. What are their pain points? I'm not a mom, but all of the parents out there, who have a lot of parents in this industry, men and women, and others. So whoever are parents, and those challenges that
Right.
goes, and this is just an example. So if you can show up as, I get you, I understand, that is value. And then when you come in, I'm going to take care of it. That is value. When you're going now and specifically choosing the right cruise or the right airline nowadays, you got to get the right airline for people. Or, you're able to give them those details to cut costs and meaning costs is you don't show up last minute and then have to pay more on a cruise ship because you didn't pre-book things prior. I'm not saying do a cheap vacation, but the things where people don't have to pay more than what they need, right?
Yeah.
But also when you charge a fee, now you can truly look at the value from a price perspective, and you don't always have to sell them the highest cost package just so your commission can be X amount of money because you're trying to compensate for what you really should be making as a fee. So I don't know if I answered the question properly, but you are the value. They're paying for you. So it's for you to become an expert. You need to educate yourself about what you're doing. You need to educate yourself about the destinations, the products, the experiences that you want to offer. You have to be a business owner. You have to know why you're here. You have to know how you can uniquely service people, and you have to be knowledgeable and not just depending on your DMC and your tour operator to do everything for you. And even if they are doing everything for you, you have to have a service and servant first mentality to actually make this a memorable experience. I think we have a lot of people in this industry are in here for the wrong reasons. Therefore, you don't know why you're here. You don't know why you're adding value, which is why it's hard to speak in terms of value and charging your worth, because you may have other reasons why you're doing this business. If that is you, please truly, truly, truly consider what we're talking about here this whole week that Rita has put together, because it's not serving you nor the industry. I mean, you're going to see me keep saying that because we are literally reliant on each other. Hopefully y'all are very excited about how, and my fee is not high for a lot of luxury. It's not even on the par with a lot of luxury agencies. Some are charging 10,000 just for one trip. So I know I'm going to be increasing this a lot sooner, but the reason why my fees start where they are, just so you want to know this, is because I have a lot of transitional clients. They didn't come to me in luxury. They came budget. I elevated them to premium, and now they are moving into that higher end because they're either retiring, or they have more time. They got new jobs and careers, etc., or businesses now, so they can afford it a little bit better. So my price point is really for a Carnival cruise client.
Right.
That's for anybody. So that is my starting price point for any client.
I think that is incredibly important to note. There's a difference between somebody coming into the travel industry, starting an agency for free travel, and there's a difference between the agent that wants to help families communicate better together. There's a difference between the advisor who works with CEOs so that they don't burn out, who works with CEOs who are so invested in their team that they're willing to put team retreats on and get everybody together out of the ordinary work environment. There is the difference between the advisor who is helping the solo female traveler find themselves after a traumatic experience, a hard breakup, whatever it is. That's the difference, especially in the motivation of what you do. That's what really drives you to do the work that you do.
Come on, queen of marketing. There you go, that messaging. Absolutely. That is the value right there. And once you get clear about for yourself, and trust me, I say a lot of people, when you have value challenges, personal, being able to see your value and communicate value, mindset challenges, you may need a therapist, or you definitely need coaching. I think we all need coaching. We all need some help.
Right.
But those are real things, that we don't realize. Sometimes we try to hide between our our battle scars, but they come out in some capacity. And typically it shows itself when we undervalue ourselves. And that's not serving your households. Not many people who like, oh my gosh, I don't want my husband or my wife to tell me that they think this is a waste of time,
Right.
okay, I may have to go back to work soon because it's not happening. I'm not bringing it back in. Also, our own confidence in the energy that comes off. I have some friends that I was just at their home and they've been in travel way longer than me. But then there had friends of theirs that was there who knew, I guess they knew I was in the business. They know that we're friends, but they probably forgot that all of a sudden, and they are getting out of the business, by the way, so that's clear. But these same friends of theirs was like, okay, I'm gonna call you. And they're like, huh? They never booked with us before. And I said, I think it's just my messaging. They saw that I was, not that they weren't committed, but for whatever I said, it spoke to them. They could see that I was more in alignment for whatever reason for that travel path that they were looking to do, maybe so much than their friends were. And it could just be a thing that you're talking to the wrong audience, not that you shouldn't be doing something. And so as business owners, and I'm raising my hand, that marketing did not come easy for me, still doesn't. And so putting myself out there, I was just so used to everything coming easy for me and happening so naturally. And so putting myself in front of a market of people I didn't grow up with and that I didn't necessarily naturally have a path to was a challenge because it required me to do some stuff. It required me to work and market and put money, ads. Most of us, so I want to know how to do Facebook ads and I want to know how to do Google ads, but you broke. You can't do that. You're not going to get in front of nobody at $1 a day or a week, you know? So anywho, we need this. We need to implement these things to actually be able to have profitable businesses. Profitable businesses.
What would you say is the technology or the processes that makes charging fees easier for you?
The best thing that makes it easy, first of all, it starts with perception. I think you need to definitely level up on your tech stack if you don't have a scheduler in place, if you're not conducting consultations via Zoom or some other professional means. Because ultimately, when I show up this way, it again, okay, yeah, she has business expenses. She's professional. She's doing, of course she has to pay her bills. So that's one thing. But having a CRM that has these technologies, meaning a merchant account, a Stripe, some kind of merchant processing embedded, I think it's the first thing to give you confidence. So you don't have to worry about doing something extra outside. I personally don't recommend PayPal only because of their chargeback policies. It's not as friendly as Stripe has been, in my opinion. And you have other tools like Turn and Travel Joy, Dubsado for some even people who have implemented. They have Stripe implemented on the back end. So I think first, if you get your CRM and just be able to put your costs in there, just get your template, whatever the invoice template, and you have your minimum starting there. So that's why I put it on my website in the beginning as well, because when I get in my own mind about $750, well, guess what? It's on my website that it's starting at $750. It's in my scheduler that when they go to select an appointment, this service starts at whatever amount, so that now I have to stay consistent. I can't now go and charge you $250 when everything else says $750. So I just gave myself a raise when my mind is playing tricks on me.
Yeah.
So I think if you just have the right tools, like a CRM in place that has this technology built into it, that makes it very seamless and easy, where you don't have to overthink and you don't have to give yourself any more added stress. That's one of the first things, because honestly, once you get the money, then that's when work's
It's like
supposed to
you go.
start. Yeah, now you're excited. But for those of you who are a little bit more sophisticated, you can use your QuickBooks if you're all into the accounting world. And so QuickBooks has payments. NTC, the National Transaction Corporation, they have a relationship with ASTA. So if you're a little bit more advanced in how you're comfortable in accepting money, there's all kind of ways. But please, people, do not use Zelle
Oh, no.
and Venmo
No.
and Cash App, because you're trying to bypass your merchant fee of 2.9 to
No.
3.5%. Don't do that. There's probably a lot of reasons, but I'm gonna just speak on the professionalism. It doesn't come off as a very professional way to do business.
Right.
And I'm getting into an area that's not my expertise, but it's also a expense, a taxable expense of cost of goods sold, those fees. So don't do yourself a disservice going down the rabbit hole of trying to get money for free. And I say for free without the fee is what I mean by that. So definitely use proper tools.
No, that's a really great way to end the session on a high and with that tactical information, especially that, because I'm like, oh, that makes me cringe if somebody's like using something like that. I can see it if maybe it's not necessarily your business or you're using it with a friend to pay them back, but not in a business perspective. So,
I
Jackie,
know.
thanks so much for being here and sharing all the things. I know we're going to be adding a special offer of yours in our swag bag. So don't forget, we have our virtual swag bag for Prep for Wave Week this week. Can you give us a little bit of the tidbits about what might be inside there?
Yes, essentially, you'll get time with me, personal time with me. One of the things that Rita mentioned, I am a business coach. I've been doing this for several years now, many years in other industries, but about 7 years consistently within the travel industry. But for this particular offer, we're starting with fees. So the good thing about me is if you don't have a website, we can discuss it. I don't design it, but I do have referrals. But if you do, and even if you don't, we will get you your fees listed on some type of landing page so that you can have a confident way to drive people to it. It will then link to the actual way to schedule a consultation with you if you don't have that set up already. I would have it where you can have your starting ad on your site, also within your scheduler as well. So regardless of however they're getting to you or landing on your page to schedule time with you, they're going to already know what the expectation of working with you with is. And then afterwards, we're going to then work through your mindset. We're going to be doing this throughout anyway. Getting to the core of what it is, what you're not confident in, building out a service offer, what it looks like to work with you, what is your messaging, as Rita so eloquently outlined, different ways that you can put yourself out there and bring a message to your client and what problem you're solving for them. But ultimately, the return on investment, you should, if you're doing everything properly, you should be getting the return on investment that the time you spent with me by having your fee structure and optimize. This is not just for people who don't have a fee, but this is for those who know that they're playing it too safe and that they know that they should be charging more. So I want to help you. It's something I'm very passionate about. I've been through so many different business models, so I'm pretty confident that I'll be able to service you the best that I can. So yeah, that'll be what my offer. I guess I gave more than a sneak peek, but that's it.
That is amazing. And I feel like, yes, we're on sales day, but it has like so many different facets to do with different, because you said something about ROI, and I'm pretty sure we touched on that with Stephanie Cannon on day 2, operations day. So if you haven't tuned in to Stephanie and I's conversation, definitely tune in there. And I feel like there's some of the marketing tactics. So there's a conversation on marketing with, or marketing master classes with Kirsten Andrade, and that is a load. That if you haven't
I
tuned into that
cannot
one,
wait.
definitely tune into that one, because when we talk about unique marketing, and especially being smart and strategic with your sales, that's a great session too. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our amazing partners for Prep for Wave Week. I hope you know them by now. The amazing Prep for Wave Week presenting partners are TA Toolkit and Travify, and then our premier partners are Lucia, Fine Travel, and Inflow Design Co. So super huge thank you for supporting this event and the travel advisors attending. But that's it for us. Thanks again, Jackie, and travel advisors. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, Rita. Bye, everyone.